All of my family, we were both people. My original name was Khuong Mạnh Vu. Mom and dad was market farmers. Two of my older brothers was in the South Army. After the communists come in, we become a target. We go to them, we not their friend. I didn't have any perception of what I was going to do when I grow up. Just imagine a 13 years old boy. One day your mom and dad just call you in and tell you that you have to escape Vietnam with your sister and your brother who was older. And I remember that particular day when it's time to leave, I come in and tell my dad that I was going. And then he just couldn't look at me. He just turned away and then say, go, go. We caught the bus, and then the people who organized the escape have to hide that in some local houses. And at 10 o'clock at night time, they took us onto the little boat. We have to work 2 hours. During the 2 hours, the water started to rise. And I remember I have a pair of trousers on, but after the water go up to my chest and then it eventually go over my head, I couldn't swim with the trousers, so I have to take the trousers off. And then we got onto the big boat. After 53 hours, we came to an oil rig. They asked us where we come from, and we say we from Vietnam, and we was refugee. Basically, what we wanted was that ask them for direction, so they point us to the refugee camp in Malaysia. But they knew beforehand that the next day the sea going to be real rough, so they took everyone on board. But the next day when they took us on a big ship to refugee camp in Malaysia, that's when we realized that we were very, very lucky. I mean, back then, because you don't know any better, so when you get on the boat, you think this is heaven, this is quite safe. But after we got rescued from the oil rig, we looked down the boat, and it looked very, very tiny, and it looked very, very unsafe. So I was in a refugee camp for 6 months. The funny thing was that when I first arrived, I only got one pair of shorts on me. One single pair of shorts, nothing else, no thong, nothing else. And because back then there's a lot of people in the refugee camp, so the Refugee High Commission take a while to help you. So for the first 3 days, I was just one pair of shorts. Every time have a bath, work on the beach so it dry off. Australian High Commission was very, very good. They come into refugee camp. They ask people whether you want to come to Australia. And if you like to go to Australia, you just put the application in. So my sister and her husband decided to come to Australia. And because I was a minor, I came with them to Australia.
Thank you.
Well, we came to Wagga from Sydney by bus. And I tell you something very funny though. Because in Vietnam, traditionally, that you have to live in a city. Anything away from the city is no good. And the further you travel from the city, the worse it gets. So on the way from Sydney to Wagga in 1981, it was a big drought. On the way, everything was yellow. You can't see anything green. We come to Wagga in December. And then the houses, the town that we go through, so small, because the further you travel from the city, everything, I mean, 200 km, you see one house. And then we say, oh my God, where are they taking us? And then suddenly we come to a town, and there's a few houses, and then the next thing you know, we came to San Isidro. It was difficult because the whole family is very, very limited in English. There were some Vietnamese who came to Wagga before us, and they were able to help us to interpret a certain thing. Most of the time, we just have to struggle with all the Australian people coming, some coming to visit, some coming to help. we sort of didn't know which was which.
Steamed rice. You want fried
It's
rice?
very funny that the whole family could, during the day, pull all the curtain down. So when people knock on the door, we will look out and have a look who it is, who it was. If someone we knew that come to our house before, we will open the door. And if someone that we didn't know, we was very hesitant to open the door. But the thing was because we didn't have any transport, so they knew that we're inside the house. And then at the same time, they can't get in because we didn't open the door. So they have to go and get somebody else because they thought that something might happen to us. So they go and get a few more people. And then we still won't open the door. And then finally they will get some other people to come that we recognize. And that's when we open the door for them to come in. My sister and my brother decided maybe they should open a restaurant. So they bought a little business on a main street. It was a very small business. I was still at school then. After 18 years old, I was always thinking that, we'll go into family business, even though I study at university.
Might go the sweet and sour chicken and fried rice.
A lot of people know me, and I know a lot of people. And, we got regular customer come in. I think even though they say that you go to Saigon, you see Peter, but they consider to be, Peter, not a Vietnamese guy, but, Peter who come in and say a few jokes. And I've been living in Wagga for 25 years, and I just can't imagine myself not living in Wagga.